Okay, good morning.
Hello
Top
from the right coast.
Oh, Charles, hello.
God willing, I'm with you on the west coast tomorrow.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
safe flight.
Thank you.
80, 89A at the top. So the Toda had 40 loaves. So it says Chatzah lug shemen l'Toda. Half a lug of shemen for the Toda. So now Tanya Rabbi Akiva Omer Matam Alomar b'shemen shnei pamim. It says in that parsha we have the different loaves. We have the rikike, the more wafer-like loaves. We have the talos, the thicker loaves. We have this revucha where it's like soaked in water loaves. So it says shemen by each one. Said shemen, I would have known it means shemen. Another meal, but repeated twice. The general rule after each other, actually it's coming to exclude, to minimize that it's by the thanks offering. It's not referring to a log of shemen, rather it's referring to half a log of shemen. Says the Gemara, what double? Where's there a double riba? A double there's two extra words here. It's not a ribui acha ribu. It's not an extra after an extra. It's only chad ribu. It's only one extra. The first time it says shemen, oil, it has to say it to teach you that it needs oil. The second time it says there's only one addition, not two additions. So it says the Gemara like this. What you have to say is, if the pasuk by the Toda would have said nothing, would have left out the word oil entirely, you would have known that it needs oil. The fact that it mentions oil once and twice, that's already two extra times. And there, the rule is two additions back to back is going to be a exclusion. So Ella ilu lo nemar b'shemen kolik, or if it didn't say the word shemen oil at all by the Toda offering, I would have said Omer harehu k'chol menachos. It's like the rest of the menachos, the rest of the flour offerings. It'll be one lug, a measurement of one lug. Akshav shenamar b'shemen, it says b'shemen twice. Have a ribui acha ribui. The ein ribui acha ribui ela two times. Exclude, and instead of one measurement of shemen, rather it's going to be only half a log. That's right. That's right. Now, the truth is, it says actually shemen 3 times in the verse. It's interesting why they only picks on the first 2. Yeah, don't know. The loaves and the wafers and the poached ones, the ones that are more soaked in water. Also, maybe this is why, because you need the stirred shemen. Kishihu omer b'shemen b'revicha. When it says the word shemen b'revicha, that's unnecessary. Ein tamad lomar. Why is it unnecessary? So at least the Rashi on top says because we have another revicha, another poached kind of soaked in water offering by the Kohen Gadol's daily offering, and there it says that it needs oil. So you'd have known already that this intrinsic part of a poached, soaked loaf kind of offering would require oil. So why does it say in this case, by this type of a loaf, revicha, that it has to be with oil? Riba, it says, she'en tam lomar, riba shemen l'revicha. So what does that mean? What's it coming to include? You would have known it already. Ha-ketzad, maybe chatzi luk shemen v'chatzeh. What you do is like this. You have half a lug of shemen, and you divide it in half. So you divide it in half. Half of that will go to the wafers and the loaves, and the 3. It's coming to teach you to oil food from the general volume of 1 lug to half a lug. And the third time, coming to teach you that Vicha needs half a lug, and the other 2 also get half a lug. So that is Rabbi Akiva. Amalur Rabbi Dovid ben Azariah says Rabbi Dovid ben Azariah, Akiva. So Eini Shemelach. If you're going to be adding every time it says Shemen, you're going to be expounding from here. I'm not listening to you. So that's not what it means over here. Ella, I'll tell you. Half a look Shemen Latoda for a Toda, and a Revi is Shemen Lenazir, and the fourth of a look Shemen for a Nazir, and totally parenthetical that the 11 days between Anida. So Anida sees blood. So for 7 days she's impure regardless if she sees or not. And just these 11 days in between. In those 11 days, if she sees once or twice consecutively, she's called the Zavak Tana. If she sees 3 times, then she's called the Zavak Dola, and then she needs 7 clean days. So those 11 days between Nida and Nida is also, all 3 of these are Halacha Moshe Misina. So he disagrees with this, the way everyone agrees that you have half a log of Shemen by a Toda. The question is how you get there. He holds Halacha Moshe Misina, and Rikiva says he has an exposition. Presumably they'll agree that the third time mentioned Shemen, the way you divide it up, the half a log, and you divide it up into 2, 1 half for 2 out of the 3 loaves, and the other half for the third loaf, that they might agree on. But it sounds like the first 2 Shemens, the Rabbi Kiva expounded, that he disagrees with. Okay. So it says by the Menachos, Belug Haya Modeh. You would measure with a lug. And then it said, so what happens? There's a debate. Does the oil measurement always follow the flour measurement? Meaning, is it when you have a tenth of an isaron, you have a lug? If you have 60 tenths of isarons, so then you would have 60 lug or not. So it says, Tanur Rabbana, says in the Brisa, b'mitzora ani. So someone, there you go, this expression. Yeah, double parsha, this expression. So a mitzora is someone who gets leprosy, or tzaras, really. So someone gets they can't afford. So the load says the mixed oil, tenth of flour, mixed oil. A look, even if you have, doesn't matter. It always requires 1 look. How do I know? For a mincha, you need 1 look shemen, period. So 1 verse says for a tenth you need a look, and 1 verse says for a flour offering you need a look. So 1 tenth to a look, and there 10ths, 3 tenths, 3 looks, and there's the general flour offering to a look. It always needs 1 look, no matter how many measures of flour you have. Okay, so now each one, what do they do with the other one? Rabbi Nechem, you have Rabbi Eliezer, Hayisar and Balul Velug, Mai Avile. What do they do with this seemingly this juxtaposition of 1 lug to a tenth that their counterparts used to teach you that it always goes up? The flour oil ratio goes up. So Hahula Gufe, you need it for itself. The Ka'amar Rahmana Laisichadi Saron. That you need that to teach you that that the flour offerings require 1 lug of shemen. That a mitzora. This pasuk is by a mitzora. 1 second. No, yeah, it's by a mitzora ani. It's by a it's by a mitzora ani. Is a teacher that he also needs a tenth of flour and oil. Yeah. My what does the other opinion hold that does expound this? The idach legufei lo tzarich says you don't need to teach you a special halacha by a poor mitzora, a mitzora that's very poor. There's no need to teach you that he has to bring this as well. The Torah already told us by a general case of a regular mitzora, shalosh korbanos v'shalosh hashonos, 3 offerings, 3 measurements. So hachad dechad korban chad yisar. Here he's going to bring 1 sacrifice. So you bring 1/10 of a measurement. The other opinion says you do need a special teaching that by a mitzora who's very poor, he has to bring this 1/10 of oil of flour with the oil. The idach itzrich why sal kadai techamina hol v'chas rachmana aleho. Since the Torah he's very poor and the Torah has mercy on him, so la'asuya bedalus it lets him bring even when he's very poor. He can still bring his offerings to cleanse himself of his mitzora status. So eimalola ba'yamina klal. Fascinating. Yudah thought he could bring nothing at all. So what do? You just show up and you get the oil put on your hands and your feet and your ears or whatever it is, but you yourself don't need to bring anything. And the other opinion doesn't like that at all. We never find that you bring nothing. You always got to bring something. Okay, so that's that. Now the Rabbanon, what do they do with Hayi Lemincha V'Luk Shemen My Avidle? They hold that it does go up. The more flour you bring, the more oil you bring. So what do they do with the other exposition? That sounds like for every flour offering, it's 1 look and that's it. Ahu lemisnadiv mincha. It's just to teach you a halacha that when you offer a voluntary offering of a mincha, shlo yivchos midavar hataun look. You can never go less than something which requires a lug. Umayinihu. What's something which requires a lug of oil? Isaron. So any voluntary flour offering always needs a 1/10 of flour and a lug of shemen. Period. I have idach and the other opinion. Interesting. Tarti shmas mina. They'll learn both things from this verse. They'll learn number 1, you always have to have for a mincha, you're always going to have only 1 lug of oil. It doesn't go up as the flour goes up. And number 2 is that you can never have less. It could be, usually we don't learn 2 things from 1 verse, but maybe in this case it's really 1 thing, that every flour offering requires 1 lug of shemen. So that even if you offer a flour offering, 1 lug of shemen, and either if there's more flour, doesn't matter. It always requires 1 lug of shemen. Okay. Then it says, the Mishnah told us, you have to have 6 measurements for a bull, 4 measurements for a ram, 3 for a sheep. So, shisha lepar, arba la'ayil, shlosha lekeves. Minalon, dichsiv, it says in the verse, v'niskeya m'chatzi ahin yelapar, u'shlish ahin yela'ayil, u'reviz ahin lekeves. So it tells you how much you need for these 3 animals by the measurement of a hin. So, So how much is a hin? Uniskeim chatzi hahin. So you need a half a hin, yelapar. What's half a hin? Hin is tresar lugi. 1 hin is 12 lug. How do I know? The chsiv shemen zayis hin. It says, by the Mishkan, it says you would bring shemen zayis hin. Uksiv shemen mishchas kodesh yezeli seichem. So by the oil it says a hin, and what's speaking about oil it says zeli. This will be for me, and zeh, the word this is 2 letters, zayin and hey, which have a numerical value of 12. Zayin is 7 and hey is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. So begematria tracer havyon, it's gematria of 12, and that's how you know that 1 hin is 1 hin is 12 lug. So one of the ways we derive things every so often is through gematria. So yeah, okay. Imagine like a PhD paper, you to conclude, you to put this in. The numerical value teaches me they're never going to go for it. But it's one of the ways we derive things. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Now, Now, for the menorah, it said, Shlosha umechza lemenorah chatzi lug l'chol ner. 3.5 lug, and you have half a lug for each candle. So you have 7 candles, 3 on each side. You have the middle candle, so you have half a lug for each. Times 7 will get you 3.5 lug. Okay, what's the source? Minani mili, the Taner Rabbanon me'erev ad boker tein lamidasa. Shetehei dolekas v'lekas me'erev ad boker. Okay, the pasuk says it has to go from evening until morning. To put in the measurement that it'll go from evening until morning. Yeah. Okay. Davar acher, another statement. Me'erev ad boker, ein lecha avoda shiksheira me'erev ad boker ela zu bilvad. Everything else is only daytime or nighttime, but here, from later in the afternoon till the morning, it's valid. It doesn't become invalid overnight. So this avoda, this service, is the one that's kosher from nighttime until daytime. The shiru chachamim and the chachamim, they evaluated it. Chatzi lug, that it takes chatzi lug ma'ortavat safra, half a lug from the nighttime until daytime. Half a lug from nighttime until daytime. Now, what's the question that could be asked that Rashi is bothered with? Is that how do you have one measurement that goes from nighttime until daytime if the winter and the summer have different lengths? Right? So you can't have one measurement that one size fits all for all nights. Because the lights, right. So Rashi says that which was left over in the morning on the shorter nights, they would throw out. Some say though, they would actually make different size wicks in the winter and the summer. They'd have thicker wicks in the summer, the longer, and in the winter time. Sorry, they have thicker wicks, and in the winter time, they'd have much thinner wicks. They'd have much thinner wicks. Now, I heard an interesting thing that when it comes to lighting the Hanukkah menorah, so some say it has to last for a half hour. So one opinion holds you have to put in a measurement. So do whatever lasts 12 hours divided by, however much oil you need. So that amount you have to put in for your Hanukkah menorah. And others say no, as long as you make a wick that's thicker, that's fine. You don't go after the measurement of oil. Your thickness of your wick can count towards having the right amount of oil to last a half hour. And they bring our Gemara that you see that Rashi brings to opinion, that Rashi mentions this idea. You could have thicker wicks or thinner wicks that would help you with your measurement of oil. Okay. So that's that. Now, Ika de Amri. So now there's going to be a debate how they exactly figured this measurement out. So Ika de Amri, it's reminiscent of yesterday. I think yesterday. So Ika de Amri milamala lamata shiru. Ika de Amri mimata lamala shiru. Some say that what they did was they had a lot of oil in the beginning, and they would see how much it lasted, and they said, we have a lot of leftover, so we have to do a little bit less. And some say they did it the other way. They did only a little bit, and said, that didn't last. We have to do a little bit more. So Amakok is how exactly they measurement. Why would you say each way? Man Amar Mimata Lamala. So one that said from only start with a little bit and worked your way up. So Shira Torah Man Amar Mimata Lamala Shiru. Why? HaTorah Chasal Amar Yisrael. Start off with less because the Torah wants to save the money of the Jewish people. So start off with less and work your way up. If you start off with more, you're gonna have leftover. That sounds like a good argument. How do you counteract that? Umand Amar Mimala Lamata. Shiru ain aniyas makam ashiras. The other competing value in the temple is that in a place of wealth, you don't do poor. So in a place where you have wealth, you put in a full amount. There might be leftovers. I heard this morning on the way here. There's a shul, sounds like they didn't have so much money. So a debate broke out that they wanted to keep the light on. As brought down, the halachas of a shul have to have a near tummy always on. That was on the one hand. On the other hand, is that but we don't have enough money. We need to save money. So what do you do? So it was exactly these two things. On the one hand, a shul has to have a lamp. What do you mean? It's a shul. On the other hand, but we don't have enough money. So the rabbi today asked that when you have these two competing values, so you go with the second one. Ein aniyas makam ashiras. And if you can keep the light lasting in the shul, you should do that. It's going to cost you a little more. Interesting. So yeah, two competing values. Do you have poverty in a place of wealth, or do you save the extra dollar? So yeah. Okay. Now, moving on to libations. So you brought libations with a number of offerings. The question is, could you mix together the libations of the different offerings? So now, I'm not exactly sure why you would do it. We'll see. Maybe it's only post facto. But at this point, it sounds like lechatchila you would do it. Why would you do it? I'm not sure exactly why you would do it. Yeah, either way. Ma'arvin nische parim. So basically, any offering that has the same amount as another offering of oil and flour, those offerings, if you mix the wine together, it'll be fine. Any offering where the oil and flour have different measurements, if you mix the wine of those, mix the libations of those offerings, it's going to be invalid. So therefore, nische parim benische ayolim, if the libations of the bulls get mixed with the libations of the rams, or nische kvasim benische kvasim, nische parim benische ayolim, yeah, or nische kvasim shel yachid b'shel tzibur. We have an individual sheep offering gets mixed with a communal sheep offering. So those have the same measurements. Next page. Shal yom b'shel emesh. You have today's offering gets mixed with yesterday's, which has the same measurement. Those are fine. Aval, however, ein ma'ar b'nische kvasim b'nische par mayol. You can't mix the sheep libations with the bull and ram because different measurements of oil and flour. Ve'im balalon elu b'fnei atzman. And if you did mix it, so if it's elu b'fnei atzman, v'nis arvu ksherim. So if the libations are it sounds like if you have each offering individually, and you haven't, they never got mixed together. Yeah, I mean, if you already mixed oil and the flour of one offering, and you mixed oil and the flour of the other offering together, and then you mixed up their libations, so that's going to be fine. That's going to be kosher. That's going to be good. But im ad shelo bala, but if you have not yet mixed the oil and the flour together, and then you mixed up the libations together, then it's going to be invalid. Okay. Hakeves haba'im ha'omer, the sheep that comes with the omer, afal pisha menchaso kfula lo hayu nisakal kfula, even though the flour is double the amount, but you don't double the libation amount. Okay. Yeah, okay. I don't think the libations, they weren't mixed together with the oil and the flour. It was poured on the side of the altar.
Yeah, combine ingredients in this stuff separately, and then they become mixed together. It's fine. I don't know what ingredients been talking about that.
Oh, one second. Not the oil and the flour?
Except for wine and milk.
Uh-huh. Meaning in the Mishnah, if you mix up the ingredients. Oh, no, I was right. Yeah, no, I was right. If the sun get mixed together after the oil and the flour, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this prohibition of mixing nesachim is dependent on the oil and the flour being mixed together or not. Right. I guess you combine them and you pour it from one, put them together and pour it at once or something like that. And we have to see why is it dependent on the mixing of the flour and the oil. Yeah. Okay, that we have to see. That we're going to talk about. Yeah. Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So it says the Gemara, this idea that you can mix things together and it's still valid for a minhu, it says vehiktiro. So this is talking about one of the sacrifices in Vayikra. And it says vehiktiro, you should offer, the Kohen's going to offer it up. Offer it, shelo ya'arev chalavim b'chalavim. They should not combine the fats with the fats. So here the fats cannot be combined. You can't combine different fats. So too, you should not be able to combine different libations. Rabbi Yochanan, our mission just means to say, doesn't mean you could ideally mix together. It just means imnis arvu ka'amar. If they got mixed up, they're valid. But yeah, you can't mix them up ideally. Well, says the Gemara, if that's true, it's not going to fit with the end of our Mishnah. Why? Low. It says at the end of the Mishnah that you cannot mix the libations of the rams with the bulls and with the sheep, with the bulls and the rams. Even if it got mixed together, it's not good. And then the end of the Mishnah says, if each offering has its oil and flour mixed together, and that offering has its oil and flour mixed together, and then you mix the libations together, then it's going to be good. Sounds like that part of the Mishnah is post facto. Michlal dereisha, which means at the beginning of the Mishnah, lechatchila ka'amar is talking about ideally, even though you want to say we're talking about post facto, but the end of the Mishnah, which talks about post facto, implies at the beginning of the Mishnah, which doesn't have that word usage, implies that it's talking about even ideally, and therefore we're back to the drawing board. How does that fit with not mixing the fats? How come the fats cannot get mixed and the wine could get and the libations could get mixed? Amarabaye hakikama. Ma'arvin yenam, you only can mix the wine im nisarev sultan v'shmena. You can mix the wine up if the flour and oil was already mixed together. But the yena lechatchila lo. But just to mix the libations together, that you can't do. You can only do it if the oil and the flour was already of that respective offering was already mixed together. Then you can mix their libations together. I v'hatanya b'medvar mamurim b'soles v'shemen aval yayin ma'arvin. It sounds like in the brisa. It says you can only mix it together after the fact, after the oil and the flour is mixed together. One second. Meaning that which we say, you can't mix together. It sounds like you can't mix up the oil and the flour. I think it's talking about of different offerings. Aval yayin ma'arvin, but yayin, wine, you could mix even if the oil and the flour was not mixed together. This brisa seems to contradict that. When can you mix the wine? Is it dependent on the oil and the flour of that offering being already mixed? Yes or no? Ella Amar Abai like this. Hachikamar. Heicha de hukter saltan v'shmeinon. When the flour and the oil of that offering has already been offered up, you have your ram 1 and ram 2, and each one of that flour and oil has already been offered up, mixed and offered up. Then you could put together the libations and pour them together on the altar, even ideally. Heicha de lo hukter, if it has not been offered up, so now it depends. Imnis ariv saltam b'shmein and marvin. If the oil and the flour has been mixed together, then you can mix up the oil. The imlav ein ma'arvin. But if you have not yet mixed that offering's flour and oil, then you cannot mix the wine. Why? Dilma asi iruve soles v'shemen lechatchila. The reason why you can't just mix up different libations from two different offerings is because you might come to mix the oil and the flour of different offerings, and that you can't do. So if we start letting you mix different libations, the libations of different offerings, then you might start to come to mix their oil and flour from different offerings, and that is something which you are not allowed to do. Yeah. So this word vehiktiru that the Gemara first brought in that says you can't mix fats, it really is the source that you can't mix up different offerings with each other. So even though you have the same measurement of oil and flour in ram 1 and oil and flour in ram 2, still you can't just put them together. Well, why? It's the same thing. Who cares? Same measurements. No. Ram 1 has its flour, its oil. This has its flour, its oil. These need to be mixed together. You can't start switching. So therefore, the libations, until the oil and flour have been mixed together, you can't switch either, because we start letting you switch wine from ram 1 to ram 2, then you'll start switching the oil and the flour from ram 1 to ram 2, and that's not going to be okay. Keves haba'im ha'omer, the sheep that's brought with the omer. So here the flour is doubled. And even though the flour is doubled, the libation remains the same. So Tana Rabbanu Minchaso, it says Uminchaso, its flour offering is Shnei Esronim Solas. It's 2/10, not 1/10, but 2/10. So Shnei Esronim Limit al Keves Haba'im HaOmer, to teach you that the keves, the sheep that's brought with the omer, sheminchaso kfula, that its flour offering is double. Yachol kashem sheminchaso kfula kach yeino kaful. You'd have thought, just like its flour is doubled, so you should double the wine also. Hamad lomar v'nisko yayin revi'sahin. It says no, its wine is going to be a revi'sahin, a fourth of a hin, the regular amount. Yachol yehei yeino kaful she'ena nivlo im minchaso. Aval yehei shmeino kaful. Okay, the wine is not mixed together with the flour and the oil, so it get doubled. But the oil that's mixed with the flour, if you have 2 1/10 of flour, so you should double the oil as well. So that we say, Talmud Lomar, Unisko, Kol Nisachav, Lo Yu Elarevius. No, all of the oil is only going to be not more than that. Says the Gemara, hold on, Mai Talmuda. How did you see from the word venisko in our pasuk, which is a feminine word, going on the oil, to venisko in the masculine, going on the offerings. So the Elazar, Sivka, it says Vika, but Vikarina, but you read it Vinisko. So Ketzad, Niska de Mincha is Kinisko de Yayin. That the offering of the Mincha is going to be just like the Nisko in the masculine of the wine libations. Ma Yayin Revius, just like the wine is always going to remain a Revius, even if you double the flour. Af Shemenami Revius, so to the oil is going to be a Revius, even though you've doubled the flour. So that's that. You learn from this exposition that in the Omer, even though you've doubled the flour, you don't double the oil or the wine. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asher Mitzorah Sheshaktu Shlo Lishma. Here's a little bit of a new topic till the Mishnah. You have a Mitzorah, a guilt offering of a Mitzorah that you slaughter for the wrong reason. You want it for your thanks offering. I don't know. So what happens? We said in the first Mishnah in Zvachim that even though it's not good for your obligation, but it still retains its sanctity, and you put it up, and it needs and then you need to bring a new offering to fulfill your requirements. So now, Asham Mitzorah, guilt offering that you for the wrong reason, Taun Nisachim. All of a sudden, it needs libations. Before, it never needed libations. Now it needs libations. What's going to happen if you don't bring libations? You're going to confuse and think that a guilt offering brought for the wrong reason is going to be good. So to counteract that, we require you to do something that's different than a classic guilt offering, such as bring libations. And if you don't do that, so then the salto, then it's going to be invalid to bring on to the altar because it was shakted for the wrong reasons, and it's not fit as an ola, and it's not fit as a nadava, as a voluntary offering. So therefore, you're going to bring this offering with libations, and it sounds like it's its own category, like an invalid guilt offering. You bring libations. So if you don't do that, it sounds like, I don't know if this is rabbinic or not. I'm not sure. If not for this, it sounds like it's going to be you can't just leave it because it cannot be switched with any other offering. It can't be an ola, it can't be an adava. So all you do is bring it with libations. Okay, maybe we'll stop here.